Hi there! Today's video is all about how to choose the right color palette for your business. We're going to look at a few different aspects. So we're going to look at the practical side, like how many colors do you actually need for your brand color palette. Number two, we're going to look at the strategic side of choosing the right colors that resonate with who you are and the audience you want to attract. And finally, the intuitive side of choosing colors. Let's get to it. How to choose brand colors for your business. If we haven't met yet, I'm Carrie. I'm the brand and website designer behind The Creative Accent. I help creative entrepreneurs attract their ideal clients and grow their businesses through intentional strategic design. Designing meaningful brand identities and all things color are my jam. Let's talk first about the practical side of things. So, a few things to consider. How many brand colors do you need? Saturated versus muted color palette, using the color codes, and where to find color inspiration. How many brand colors do you need? A full brand color palette will usually consist of 6 to 8 colors. You're going to have 2 main colors that you'll use most often, and then you're going to pair that with 1 to 2 accent colors that are going to grab a bit of attention, but you're going to use them a little bit more sparingly. And then you're going to fill out your color palette with 3 to 4 complementary colors that are usually going to be softer neutrals that aren't going to compete for the attention with the other main colors. Concerning the color codes, CMYK is the version that is used most often for offset and digital printing, whereas the RGB code is how colors are rendered on screen. The hex code is particularly interesting because that is the code that you're going to use to plug into your website builder or to Canva when you are building out your brand color palette. That's the hashtag with 6 letters or numbers following. Here you can see an example on the right. So saturated versus muted. We know that colors evoke emotions, and we want our brand to create an impression and to resonate with who we are as the brand and also to attract the right clients. So if you have a high energy brand, you might lean toward more saturated colors because saturated colors equal more energy and more impact. They just leave more of a bolder impression, whereas muted colors are going to feel more relaxed and calm and grounded. So if you have a brand that needs to convey like this reassuring, peaceful quality, then you might lean more towards a muted color palette. I don't recommend mixing and matching here. I think once you choose like a certain tone, that you should kind of carry that throughout your color palette. You don't want to, for example, choose this bold blue and then pair it with a very muted blue. That's just going to send a mixed message. So where to find inspiration? I love to start with Pinterest. There are so many beautiful color palettes on there and just so much inspiration to be found. You can also find some interesting ideas on online tools such as coolers.co or colorhunt.co. I personally use Adobe Illustrator color guides often as I'm designing a brand and building out like the full color palette. And you'll also find several resources on my website, The Creative Accent. On the blog, you'll see a few different case studies that involve a lot of color and how, color transforms the brand. You'll also find a blog on color psychology, and I have a special free resource for you. So if you are interested in my color palette freebie, you can download it here. I will also include the link in the description. Now let's talk about the strategic side. This doesn't only apply to color. This applies to pretty much any design decision that you're going to make. So your logo, your fonts, strategy is at the root of like all of your design decisions. But we're talking about color today, so let's talk about how it impacts color. Strategy applies to all design aspects of your brand, including the color palette decisions. Before you can choose the right colors, you need to first establish a clear vision of who you are, the audience you serve, and what sets you apart. Essentially, you need a solid brand strategy. When you're branding or you're designing without a strategy, it can look like this: not knowing how your brand should look and feel, You're easily swayed to adopt the latest trends or copy your competitors, which doesn't make a lot of sense because the whole point is to stand out, right? You don't want to do exactly what your competitors are doing. You want to do your own thing and stand out from your competitors. Or it leads to inconsistent styling, which will dilute your brand and undermine trust, because the whole point of branding is to build recognition, and that recognition builds trust. And when you're constantly changing up design elements such as color, it's subtly undermining that trust. And lastly, maybe the worst of all, you end up with a pretty brand that has no real depth or substance. So a pretty brand that doesn't really connect with who you are and doesn't really connect with your audience. When it comes to strategy, I'm looking at three main pillars. I'm looking at the foundation. This is essentially your purpose, your vision, your core values, what you stand for. And just to give a color example here, if innovation and clear communication are core values in your business, then if I'm looking at the rules of color psychology, I might consider including a blue or a teal or a turquoise color in your color palette, because blue is it's a color that brings a lot of clarity and communication and dependability, trustworthiness. And teal is like that mix of blue and green, so it brings qualities of both of those colors. It will bring that dependability of the blue, but also a freshness and a sense of abundant life from the green. So then it makes sense for, a brand who's one of your core values being innovation. It would make sense for that brand. That's just one small example. The second aspect is your audience. Now, this is looking beyond just the demographics, right? It's what your audience is drawn to. What do they struggle with? What do they desire? And then finally, your positioning. This is how you're setting yourself apart from the competition. And researching the competition is a big part of this step. So, for example, when it comes to color, you can set yourself apart by doing something different than your competitors. If all of your competitors are using soft, muted neutrals, then you're definitely going to stand out by using a vibrant, saturated color palette. And then finally, that brings us to the intuitive side. Why it's important? Even when all the colors are technically right, according to the rules of color psychology, intuition can step in and signal when a particular shade just doesn't vibe with the rest, or the combination creates a different feeling than all the colors individually. This is where the beauty of each unique brand really starts to shine. I hope you found this overview helpful. Colors have the unique ability to evoke emotion and really make us feel something. They communicate so much faster than words. Choosing your brand colors is a combination of strategy and intuition. It's like a recipe with endless possibilities to make it unique to your business. If you're looking for more color palette inspiration, I hope you'll download my free brand color palette guide. You can find that on my website. There's the address on the screen, and I will also link this down below. I also have several resources on the blog, thecreativeaccent.com/blog, where you'll find some different case studies on how color can really transform your brand, and a blog on color psychology as well, if you'd like to dive into that. If you're interested in more brand design tips or color psychology deep dives, then hit that subscribe button down below. Thanks so much for watching.